Chapter 2: Connector, Observer, Administrator. Mino led Jan down a narrow alley on the opposite side of his house. As they walked through the dimly lit passage, the sound of their footsteps echoed, adding to the tension of the moment. Was there really a place like this in their neighborhood? The atmosphere felt completely out of sync with the surroundings. Mino gestured toward a house, indicating that Jan should open the door. Hesitating, Jan grasped the doorknob. As the door creaked open, it felt as if a secret passage was being revealed. Inside, he was met with a surprisingly large, circular space that exceeded his expectations. The round walls extended up to a high ceiling, seamlessly connected, and the walls were lined with shelves brimming with books, not a single window in sight. A grand chandelier hung from the ceiling, and while there were lights among the bookshelves, the overall atmosphere was dim. In the center of the room, a group of people gathered around a round table, and despite their appearances, Jan sensed a wealth of wisdom among them. One woman approached him with a serious, yet warm smile.
Jan, welcome. Mino told me about you. I'm Alara. We met briefly at the party, right? I'm a connector,
She said. Ilara appeared to be in her 20s with bright blonde hair and skin so pale it bordered on ghostly, exuding an air of mystery. Her voice was strong, yet warm. A connector? What does that mean? Jan asked.
Didn't Mino explain anything to you?
Alara replied, casting a mildly exasperated glance at Mino.
Alara, you have no idea how big of a mission it was to bring him here. Jan's a complete stray cat.
Mino joked, his expression playful. Ilara turned back to Jan and began her explanation.
First, let me introduce our purpose. We are the ones who connect dreams, commonly referred to as dream connectors or DreamWalkers. Typically, when someone begins to develop their dream abilities, their name is added to a checklist that administrators can see. However, sometimes those abilities fade before fully manifesting, so we monitor their progress. When it becomes clear that their abilities are consistently emerging, they're invited here, just like you. This place is one of a few known as the Dreamweaver Regional Headquarters. Our world is not divided into many of these regional headquarters. As you've likely sensed upon entering, the space is slightly distorted. It's much more spacious than it seems from the outside, isn't it? Dreamwalkers live in various areas, and while the entrances are located worldwide, once you enter, you connect here. Other regional headquarters are distinct, but there are separate doors to connect when necessary. Oh, and you'll soon learn what a Dreamweaver is. It's better to see it for yourself, so just bear with me for a moment. Mino is a caster. He meets people like you whose abilities are developing and learns about them before guiding them here. People with manifested abilities can be broadly divided into two groups: connectors and observers. Observers are more common, while connectors are rarer, but both play important roles. Observers typically take on forms like stones, earth, walls, water, or air within dreams, and they can also become plants, animals, or even invisible beings. Their role may change as they connect with the dream's subject. They can assist or hinder them, but their influence is somewhat limited. They maintain an objective standpoint while supporting connectors. Thomas is our team's observer. You'll be working with him a lot, so say hello.
Alara succinctly introduced Thomas.
Nice to meet you.
Thomas said, examining Jan with curious eyes. He was a clean-shaven man with reddish hair and a bit of stubble, exuding a friendly demeanor. Jan exchanged a quick smile but felt somewhat uncomfortable under Thomas's intense gaze and turned back to Alara.
Connectors create various connections in dreams and form a performing group.
Alara continued explaining.
Members of this group meet various subjects within dreams, engaging in personal encounters and influencing them. They often take on multiple roles at once. Most dreams we connect to require our assistance. While there are no records of meeting subjects from reality, we suspect they exist in different times, dimensions, or spaces. Every dream we visit is recorded afterward, and when we compile these records, we sometimes identify events from other times that we can specify. Because of this, every person appointed as a Dreamwalker must approach their tasks with a sense of duty, understanding that they are influencing the lives of real individuals somewhere. As you may have already experienced, time flows differently in dreams, allowing us to live multiple lives. John, according to Mino, it's likely that your ability is that of a connector. But remember, in the early stages of being a connector, becoming deeply involved emotionally can be challenging. That's why we need observers. Observers can maintain a relatively objective state and relay messages or signals to the connectors. It's crucial for us to collaborate effectively.
Alara concluded. Jan nodded, recalling the experiences he'd had while listening to Alara's explanations. So, it's not just that I've been sleeping more, I've actually manifested dream abilities, and there are things I can do with this ability? He felt a mix of confusion, wonder, and anticipation. All the thoughts he'd had before entering, what to say and what questions to ask, vanished as he focused on understanding Alara's explanation. Despite the unfamiliarity of it all, he felt a comforting sense of familiarity, as if he had known about this world all along. His previous doubts were being clarified, and it felt as if he had always been aware of this realm, accepting that he was helping others through dreams without needing to explain it. Ah, this is where I belong. The pieces I thought I lost are right here. Alara smiled.
Yes, congratulations. This is a special ability. Most people have fleeting dreams and forget them as time passes. But as you'll see in the future, your work will lead you to unique experiences that cannot be had elsewhere, and you'll learn about new worlds as well. The compensation is quite good too. You can look forward to it.
Alara winked. As Jan reflected on Alara's words, a woman in her early 40s who had been conversing with others at the round table stood up and approached Jan, Mino, and Alara.
Ah, Kira. How did the meeting go? Please say hello to Jan. Jan, this is Kira.
Alara greeted her warmly, introducing her to Jan. Jan shook hands with Kira.
I'm Kira, an administrator.
Kira stated. She had a slightly darker, healthy complexion and exuded charisma. Her voice carried a hint of authority, and her handshake was firm.
We were just finishing up an explanation about observers and connectors. Kira will now explain the role of administrators.
Alara added.
Thanks, Alara. The primary duty of an administrator is to maintain balance. The worlds we connect to through dreams may not be visible at the moment, but they exist somewhere in reality, and our purpose in entering their lives is intentional. As you'll see later, Dreamweavers help us maximize our potential and ensure stable connections to the dream worlds. An administrator's role involves supporting the activities of connectors and observers while maintaining the necessary balance in the dream worlds. They ensure smooth transitions between worlds and provide advice when needed to help us fulfill our missions. Because the role of an administrator involves multiple complex factors, you don't need to understand it all right now. Connectors and observers primarily operate within dreams, while administrators usually monitor and support from outside, except in special cases. Administrators can communicate with connectors and observers in the dream world. Although communication between connectors and observers is possible, it's limited, so having an administrator facilitate communication from outside is often much more effective. That's why we work as a team. We must remember that we are interdependent, and our ultimate goal is to collaborate and fulfill our missions. Usually, experienced connectors or observers take on the role of administrator. Until a few years ago, I was a connector myself, and some who started as observers have become administrators.
Jan could feel the energy filling the room. Initially, it had seemed dim and slightly chilly when he entered, but now it felt warm and welcoming. Each person radiated a unique aura, living by standards completely different from ordinary life. Though the concerns of reality couldn't be ignored, they clearly weren't the priority. Aware of the existence of a world beyond reality, they lived their lives without becoming overly attached, doing their best. John instinctively knew that his life before entering this place could never be the same afterward. Alara turned back to Jan.
Jan, we've covered the basics for now. Soon we'll conduct tests at the Dreamweaver that will help you understand your potential better. Your ability seems a bit unique, and we're looking forward to it. Thomas, can you guide Jan through the Dreamweaver?
Of course.
Alara's request drew a nod of agreement from Thomas. Jan listened in awe and disbelief, but as they mentioned conducting a test, a wave of anxiety washed over him. What if I mess up? What if I embarrass myself? But how can I control it? How will I know what role I should play? As Jan asked his question, Thomas placed a reassuring hand on Jan's shoulder.
Don't worry. When you enter, just explore and try different things as you feel led. I know it feels tense because it's labeled a test, but this is a learning process. Mino mentioned that you're a good swimmer. Everyone starts learning to swim from scratch, and with practice you get the hang of it. This too requires a bit of understanding. The place you're entering is a virtual space, so there's no need to worry about things going wrong. The Dreamweaver will guide you, showing you what to do, what roles you can take, and what abilities you have. Instead of forcing yourself to act, try to focus on listening. Sometimes you'll need to lead, and other times you'll follow. The key is balance. The Dreamweaver room is this way. Let's go.